And after you're done mastering these basics, start with machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms. And before that, make sure you are sophisticated enough to work with data. I mean, you can analyze the data, clean it, prepare it for model building, and etc. And try to learn all of them with the implementations on unique data instead of the generic data that you find on the internet. The next step would be to learn the advanced concepts in AIML like TensorFlow for object detection, speech recognition, image processing, etc. And after you have mastered the versioning tools, you must make sure that you have a credibility in order to get a job. Because as an employer, anyone would look for a credible person proficient enough to do the job. And where will you get that? If you have a relevant master's degree, it is well and good. But if you don't have a degree, you can always go for a certification, which will give you the credibility and it is going to be the best option to prove your metal. And then there's one way to look at it. I mean, you can take up the Edurika's postgraduate program in artificial intelligence and machine learning, which is going to be a very good deal for you because it is in affiliation with a top college. And then you are good to go. You can apply for jobs and you'll get the job easily if you have all the skill sets and you have the experience in making relevant, you are working on real time projects as well. So these are going to be very useful for you.
All of you have this question at the top of your mind because there's a huge confusion between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. So let's try to understand how they are different. Now, first of all, AI came into existence at around 1950s. All right, this was followed by machine learning, and then deep learning was introduced. Now, AI basically represents simulated intelligence in machines, which means that it represents any robot or any machine that can mimic the behavior of a human being. Machine learning, on the other hand, is a practice of getting machines to make decisions without being explicitly programmed to do so. Now, if you don't program a machine, how are you going to let it make decisions? Now, the way machines learn is through data. So the most important thing in machine learning is the data. All right, you're going to train machines using data so that they can make their own decisions. Next, we have deep learning. Now, deep learning is basically the process of using artificial neural networks to solve complex problems. So basically, you can think of deep learning as a field that tries to mimic our brain. Okay, so how we have neural networks in our brain, that's exactly how deep learning uses the concepts of artificial neural networks in order to solve problems. Now, AI is a subset of data science. So guys, first of all, data science is the process of deriving useful insights from data. Right? It's a process of extracting information from data that will help you solve problems. So AI is a subset of data science. Now, on the other hand, machine learning is a subset of AI and data science because machine learning comes after AI. So basically in AI, you're going to make use of techniques and concepts of machine learning in order to solve problems. Then we have deep learning. So it's sort of a hierarchy. First, we have data science, then we have AI, then we have machine learning, and then we have deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, AI, and data science. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, the main aim of artificial intelligence is to build machines in such a way that they are capable of thinking like human beings. All right, so basically, they must be able to mimic the behavior of a human being. Now, the aim of machine learning, on the other hand, is to make machines learn by providing them a lot of data. Okay, once you make a machine learn through data, it's going to be able to solve complex problems and find solutions. Now, the aim of deep learning is to build neural networks that are able to solve more advanced and complex problems. Okay, now, like I mentioned, deep learning is like an artificial brain. All right, you're basically building an artificial brain that is able to think exactly like how we do. Okay, that's what deep learning is. It's a little more advanced than machine learning. Now, guys, in short, AI, machine learning, and deep learning are used to solve problems through data. So basically, AI makes use of techniques and methods of machine learning and deep learning to solve problems or to draw useful insights from data. So this is the difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. I hope all of you are clear with this. Now let's look at our question number 2. The question is, what is artificial intelligence? Give an example of where AI is used on a daily basis. So there are a lot of definitions of AI on the internet. A few of them are artificial intelligence is an area of computer science that emphasizes on the creation of intelligent machines that work and react like humans. So like I said, basically a machine that is able to mimic the behavior of a human being is known as artificial intelligence. Another such definition is the capability of a machine to imitate the intelligent human behavior. All right. So artificial intelligence, in short, is basically a machine that we created who can act and think like a human being. Now, where do you think AI is used on a daily basis? There are tons of applications that make use of AI, but one of the most popular applications of AI is the Google search engine. Now, if you just open up Google search and you start typing anything, immediately you get recommendations. These recommendations you derive by using machine learning algorithms, by using deep neural networks, and so on. So, on the top of my head, the most general example of AI is the Google search engine. All of us use Google search engine and we know how quick it is with its results and how relevant searches it gives us. All this is because of AI. All right. Now let's look at our next question, which states, what are the different types of AI? Now, a lot of people might not be aware of this because there are a couple of types of AI or a couple of types of machines which are hypothetical. Okay, we haven't actually implemented these machines in the real world. We just have a theoretical definition of these. Okay, let's look at what I'm talking about. So, first of all, we have reactive machines AI. Now, these machines are all based on the present actions. Okay, they have no memory or they have no concept of storing memory so that they can learn from their experience. They just react at the moment. Okay, so they're based on present actions and they cannot use previous experiences to form current decisions and update their memory. Then we have limited memory AI. Now, this type of AI has some temporary storage of memory in it. Now, if we have some memory stored in a machine, we know that it can look back into the memory and it can try to make decisions based on previous or past experiences. So, limited memory AI makes use of that concept. We have temporary memory here, we do not have permanent memory. But one of the top applications of limited memory AI is the self driving cars. I'm sure all of you have heard of self driving cars. They make use of limited memory AI in order to run. Then we have theory of mind AI. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of types of artificial intelligent machines which are not actually implemented in the real world. An example of that is theory of mind AI. Okay, this is basically an advanced machine which will have the ability to understand emotions, people, and other things in the real world. We might have come close to this type of AI, but we haven't actually developed something that can understand emotions. Next, we have self aware AI. Now, this is another such example of a machine that is not built in the real world. This basically includes any machine that has consciousness or that can react just like a human being. Okay, so basically a machine that can take own decisions, that can form own conclusions, and these are machines that have the capability of making their own decisions without any human intervention. Now, this kind of AI is not developed, like I mentioned, because it's going to take up a lot of resources and we still haven't reached that peak of evolution yet. Then we have artificial narrow intelligence. Now, these are the general purpose AI that we see on a daily basis. I'm sure all of you have used Google Assistants, you've used Siri. All of that comes under artificial narrow intelligence. After that, we have artificial general intelligence. Now, these are a little more advanced than the artificial narrow intelligence. Then we have artificial superhuman intelligence. Now, these are one of the most advanced type of AIs that are there. Now, like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of types of artificial intelligent machines which are not actually implemented in the real world. An example of that is artificial superhuman intelligence. So, guys, these were the different types of AI. Now, let's look at the next question, which says, explain the different domains of artificial intelligence. Now, AI covers a lot of different domains, starting with machine learning. Okay, so machine learning, like I mentioned earlier, is the science of getting computers to act by feeding them data and by letting them learn a few tricks on their own without being programmed to do so. Okay, so you're not explicitly programming the machine, instead, you're feeding it a lot of data so that it understands the data and it makes its own decisions. Then we have neural networks. Now, neural networks are basically a set of algorithms, or you can say a set of techniques, which are modeled in accordance with the human brain. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, deep learning or neural networks is almost the same thing. Deep learning makes use of neural networks in order to solve complex problems. Now we have robotics. Now, robotics is a subset of AI, which includes different branches and applications of.
Healing begins with a hug. That's why Hansaplast Elastic Bandage hugs every wound. It blocks 99% bacteria and stretches 3 times more. Because when wounds are covered, they heal better. Hansaplast hugs you to heal you.
Have you heard stories about freshers getting paid a salary of 30 lakh rupees? non-tech people landing jobs in the data science field without having any
in these domains. Next, we have fuzzy logic systems. Now, traditional systems usually give out output in the form of binary. So, usually, if you feed something to a machine, it's always in the binary form. The output is also usually in the form of yes, no, true, false, and so on. But when it comes to fuzzy logic, it tries to give an output in the form of degrees of truth. Okay, so it's very different when compared to the traditional computer systems or the traditional programs. Next, we have natural language processing. Now, this is a field of AI that analyzes natural human language to derive useful insights so that it can solve problems. Now, NLP is used majorly in social media platforms. So, Twitter sentimental analysis is done via NLP. Even Facebook uses NLP in a lot of things. Alright, so NLP, fuzzy logic, expert systems, machine learning, neural networks, and robotics are the different domains of AI. I hope all of you are clear with the domains. Now let's look at our next question. Okay, so how is machine learning related to artificial intelligence? There is a huge confusion between machine learning and AI. A lot of people tend to believe that AI and machine learning is one and the same thing. All right, I would say that you cannot compare AI and machine learning because machine learning is a subset of AI. So basically, AI makes use of machine learning algorithms and machine learning concepts to solve problems. That's the basic difference, or that is where the confusion ends. Machine learning is a technique which is implemented in artificial intelligence in order to solve problems. I hope this is clear. Now let's look at what are the different types of machine learning. So there are three types of machine learning. We have supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. Now, supervised learning is the type of learning in which the machine learns by using labeled data. Now, to make you understand, let's look at an example. Okay, let's say that you've input images of apples and oranges to your machine and you've labeled them. You've told the machine, like, listen, this is the apple, this is an orange, and the output should also look like this. Okay, so you're labeling the input as apple and an orange, and then you're asking the machine to output an apple and an orange. But when it comes to unsupervised learning, you're not going to label them. You're just going to give them images of apple and oranges, and it has to figure out on its own. It has to try and understand the difference between apple and oranges, try and understand how they look different or how they have a different color. So basically, in unsupervised learning, you don't have a labeled data set. Okay, you're going to give it an unlabeled data set and you're going to ask it to find out and classify which is an apple and which is an orange. Okay, that's the difference between supervised and unsupervised. Now, reinforcement learning is comparatively different. Let's imagine that you were put off in an island. Okay, let's say that you were left in an isolated island. What would you do? Now, initially, we'll all panic and we won't know what to do. But after a point, you'll start exploring the island. You start adapting to the change in the climate.